Welcome again to Dave Blaze. Got lots of questions for him. Are you in the
How's
mood?
everybody doing?
Well, we're here and we're still fighting the fires this side. Bit less than they were, but it's hot and then it gets hotter with the fires.
I know, I understand. We're having a heat wave over here as well.
That's why
Yeah.
it's coming.
I gotta tell you, it's very, August is hot. I remember as a child, even in growing up in New York City, when it was the summer, the middle of August. I mean, the temperatures would reach 103, 110, and that
Ooh,
was way back. That was way back in the late 60s. So, you know, it's hot.
I'm,
Summer's hot.
I'm going to ask you about your childhood at the end of our chat. So
Okay.
that reminds me, I mean, it was several centuries ago, I know, but we're
Yes,
gonna
yes.
we're gonna mention that.
If it wasn't for blackstrap molasses, I'd look far worse.
Yes, the jury's out on that one. Listen,
Thanks.
yes, we've. I cannot, for the life of me, imagine that the great American public are so dim they've not caught up with this wretched QFS. They're still falling for it, Dave. Come on.
Rodney, I know, and it sounds weird, but look, the all right, you have to understand something. And here's what I'm going to lay out for your audience there, which is a great audience, by the way. Everyone at George loves Rodney's audience. You've built up a tremendous audience, and it's fantastic. But here's the thing. In the United States, we look at Russia, and we always think that Russia is the bear, right? And so on. But in Russia, they and China, they don't look at things that way. They view the United States as the giant grizzly bear. Russia views itself as the wolf or the wolf pack, but the wolf. And they view China, and China views itself as the tiger. So the wolf on its own cannot kill the bear. The tiger on its own cannot kill the bear. The wolf and the tiger do not play together, so they don't go in cahoots with each other. So the greatest thing that Russia fears, and I'm going to get to your question in a second. The greatest thing that Russia fears is direct war or conflict with the United States. China has no fear of that because they know that our economies, the Chinese and the United States economies, are very much intertwined. So they have no fear of a war with the United States. But Russia does. That's why Russia's aim is always to flip military personnel or people in key positions over to their propaganda. Okay. Both of those countries, Russia and China, know that the only way the bear dies is by disease. And that is not physical disease, but societal disease. So that is how they have worked on the United States for 70 years, is by inflicting all sorts of controversial propaganda and thoughts to constantly have our people warring against each other, fighting and so on, introducing all sorts of wacky ideas and whatnot. Okay, now to come to your question. So they have got the American public to the point, especially the downtrodden, but to the point where they don't trust anything about the United States. The Congress is no good. The executive branch is no good. The Supreme Court's crazy. All the courts are corrupt. The police are corrupt. The sheriff is corrupt. They don't trust anything. So when you get into a position like that, you're open to believe whatever the propagandist is pushing forward. So Now you have these scammers that come in that are grifting off of these people with this QFS new financial system, which they claim is running parallel to the current world financial system, and a switch has to be flipped. They have to flip the switch, and then the quantum financial system takes over. And what they believe the quantum financial system will do is a global economic reset. In other words, all of the wealth from the quote unquote cabal and banking industry and all of that, all of the wealth will be redistributed back to the citizenry. So if you're struggling right now and you have nothing in your bank account, well, once the reset happens, you'll be a multi-millionaire. And that is what people are waiting for. Of course, we know that's not going to happen. That whole thing is just a scam to get you to buy into products and cards, debit cards, and Q phones, quantum phones, and pay fees of entry into these chat rooms or whatever. And then the scammers link everything to what President Trump is doing, so that when the system never comes to fruition, they blame it all on President Trump. He betrayed us.
Don't you have somebody there in charge, President Trump, to say and go on television, hey guys, this is what's happening? Does that not happen?
It's happening through the agencies. The FBI and the Department of Justice are issuing indictments, and they're arresting these people left and right. But it's like playing whack-a-mole. So just recently, get a load of this. So just recently, on August 12th, based on what Jeanine Pirro of the DOJ did in Washington, setting up a task force, and then Kash Patel of the FBI actually located the headquarters of one of these operations in Thailand. Remember, we were talking about Thailand? A lot of junk going on there in Thailand. And they shut that down. And based on that, let's call it a proof of concept, the president signed a memorandum to deputize private hackers from Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and so on, because all of this nonsense flows through Amazon and Google and Microsoft servers. So by deputizing the hackers, and each team calls itself a white hat hacker group, they are now actively disrupting these operations. So that's what's happening.
Does CBS, does Fox News not do programs about this?
No, they feel, okay, I'm going to tell you how it is right now. All of the major news networks, the people that are educated and know better, look at this like, well, if those dumb schmucks want to get taken in by QFS, let them. That's how they view it. They view it as beneath them. It's too stupid to even report on. That's how they look at it. And on a certain level, it's true. Okay, first they tell you that the Federal Reserve is no good. Our central bank is no good. The US dollar is worthless, and because it's not backed by anything, and we know that's not true. So, but when they sell memberships and the debit cards and everything else, what do they want from these people? They want their dollars. Right? And it's the same thing in the UK. This is a global thing. This is throughout Europe. This is in Japan. This is in South Korea. This is in Canada, the United States, Australia. This is global, this QFS nonsense. This is like an underworld organized crime thing.
Well, I tell you, it's not in the UK and it's not in Spain, and
of course it's in the UK. We get people sending us emails at George Magazine talking about this, and they're from the UK, asking us questions.
I'll qualify then. To the same extent, it's hardly visible, certainly in the UK. So perhaps we're smart.
All right. Now, I will say this also. In the United States, I mean, you and I are talking about it because we're recognizing it as a big thing. But if I were to go up and down my street and ask my neighbors, they wouldn't know what in the world I was talking about.
Oh.
Right? So it is segmented, but it's segmented to Trump supporters. So Trump supporters are the target of this thing.
I was going to mention, where's the politics in all this?
Yeah. Trump supporters are the target of this grift. And I believe in the end, it's to bring down the Trump administration, because when all of this stuff never materializes, then the actual criminals stand in league with the victims and say we were all betrayed by Trump.
Okay.
It's unbelievable.
We're going to move on so we don't get depressed. Yeah. We're going to go with some good news. Exeger's platform, that's very clever. AI's come into this big time, hasn't it? It can track boats, planes, everything to see where the oil is going, where the greenback's going, whatever's happening. And more importantly, the countries that are opening the doors as third-party countries and getting away with it so far. But they won't with this program, will they?
No, it's very clever. For example, the biggest abuser is China, because they're looking to evade any kind of tariffs. So what they do is, let's say you order, a container of widgets, just an imaginary product, and you're a United States company. So what China does is they send them to Mexico, right? And then Mexico, who is not under the same heavy tariff as China is, takes them in, puts them in their containers, and then sends them up into the United States. So China gets paid, the Chinese company gets paid, and then it gets funneled into the United States, and China avoids the tariff. But with Exeger's artificial intelligence, they are tracking the product across warehouses, ships, you name it. And when they find where it's originating from, they pinpoint that for the Border Patrol and the Department of War, and the tariff gets applied.
Excellent. Having said that, you've got a situation with all this of the good part of AI, but there is a bad part of AI. And when it first came in, people used to say, oh, it's only Google, but a bit more clever. But it's not, is it? It's beyond that.
Right. They used to think that it was just a glorified autocomplete.
Exactly.
But it's a lot. It's way more than that.
Is it worth paying for the professional versions, Dave?
Well, if you're a company, and if you're a company and you want to utilize personally, because Blaze Web Services also works with Google and IBM. We work on their quantum systems as well as the Hyperledger, which has to do with blockchain and whatnot. But my favorite one is Gemini from Google, and I got to tell you, I think it's just about the best one out there because it's pulling in information from decades of the Android phones and the Android operating system. Okay, so all of that data that Google has collected, because Google, of course, is an advertising company at the heart. So all of that information it collects, it feeds into their Gemini, and it makes it a very well-rounded assistant, so to speak. So is it worth paying for I got to tell you, what is Gemini going for the pro version? What, $250 a year?
Yeah. Don't know.
That's well worth it. That's well worth it.
Well, if you're looking at AI in general, we have found we use lots of AI for various reasons, research mainly, but we do find it's got a lefty bias.
Not anymore. Not anymore. If you know how to prompt, it's going to give you a very straight shot. Now, here's the thing. Obviously, if you're asking it about something where there's truly no evidence and it's just how you feel, then the answer you're going to get, the response you're going to get is not going to be to your liking. Because the AI should stay on an evidence-based system. If you say all of Parliament is corrupt, we hate the Parliament. They're all corrupt. All the MPs are corrupt. Gemini's not going to go along with that.
Well, it's given an opinion, if you wish. I know the question you ask is important. It's got to be bullet point, really.
Correct.
And what worries me is in shadowed out, they give the sources of where they got their information from. And too much time, Dave, you've got the lefties in there, like The Guardian. That's free, so you can see why Gemini goes for it. Wikipedia, which has a left leaning, and others. Too many times they go for the lefty papers.
Okay, well, that's all right. On occasion, that's true. But also, if you have a favorite publication and you wanted to, here's how you would test this. Give it the title of the article and the URL, post that, and ask Gemini to read through it and summarize this article for you. And at times, it'll come back because let's say it's a conservative site. It'll come back and say, the website does not allow us to read the material. So here's why you're getting more of if that's the case, you're getting more of a left spin.
Yeah.
But if the website allows it to read through the material, you'll get a more even, response.
Okay, the other tip I can give, argue with it. You get different results and maybe the right results. So if it comes out with something that you consider, well, that is not right, argue with it and it will come back.
100%. I argue with the AI all the time. Truly. I'll sit there and go, Gemini, you're out of your mind. You have lost it, man.
Yes, I can imagine the reply. Right, I've got a headline for you and move on.
All right.
The University of Michigan will ease its gradings in order to help students with their mental health problems. Oh dear. Caught up with the States, has it?
Well, here's the, Rodney, we live in a strange time. In the years that you and I would have been growing up, that would be a ridiculous situation. But in today's landscape, there's a lot of people that are growing up with real mental problems because in various world governments, people don't know what to believe. They have no anchoring. They don't trust anything. It's a very strange time. It's a very strange time in the West. And also, in Russia and the Middle East and China and all that, it's just very strange times. Very strange times. Like we're circling the drain.
Well, it's easier to set a low bar, isn't it? And use mental health as an excuse. But sometimes you've got to get a grip, and that's good for you mentally.
Yeah, but see, there's too much societal reinforcement of like going along with whatever the person is saying. Right? You want to tolerate other people's feelings and so forth, and you want to understand and whatnot. But when they're coming out with things that is just bonkers, somebody has to sit them down and go, listen, man, you are out in left field. What are you talking about? So a lot of these kids, they're triggered by this. They need a safe space. They need to, right away, you can't say anything to them. They're offended immediately. It's a very strange and ticklish time. It really is.
It is.
Wouldn't you agree?
You can see why people are going for homeschooling, both sides of the pond.
Yeah, but homeschool. We did a study on this at George Magazine, and homeschooling numbers are declining rapidly. Everything spiked during the pandemic. Okay, everything spiked, and afterwards too, because during the pandemic, parents saw what their children were, what their children were being taught. And they were like, oh, I don't think I like this. So they decided to yank them out of school and homeschool them. Okay. But, after everything settles down and, the parent, now it's back to normal life, and the kids, their children are talking to their friends, and their friends are back in school. Right? And then it becomes, come on, mom, dad, can I go back to school? I want to go back to school. I want to be with my friend. That's the end of homeschooling.
Well, that's certainly to be considered, which leads us on to our last subject of discussion. Okay. I'm going to read some of this because this will take you back, Dave.
Good.
Through the centuries, as I mentioned. Mums and dads were asked their favourite childhood summer memories. Okay, nostalgia here. We rode bikes until the streetlights came on. My dad grilled every Sunday evening. We caught fireflies, and there was always time. That's an interesting one. There was always time. Parents actually admitted that both they and their kids were not real fans of sports camps, expensive family vacations compared with the real world that we once had. Now, with all the threats and, my daughter cannot go out after a certain time at night, that didn't used to happen, but it's happening now. Should we get back to the good old days?
How are you going to do that? I agree with you. Me and my friends, we had these on the street where I live. We had these two apartment buildings that were like right in the middle of the block, and between the buildings was this wide alley. Okay, a wide alley, and there were no cars or anything like that. It was just an alley where, and there was actually basement apartments where people lived, but it provided the perfect scenario to play stickball, because we had, you can mark off your first base, second base, third base, and home plate. You had the pitching. You had a gate that blocked, the ball from going into the street. Rodney, we would be out there all day during the summer, all day, and then there was roller skating and stuff like that, and so on. That was all day. My family never really took vacations. We might go away for a long weekend, but there was never any 2-week vacation or anything like that. That was unheard of. But how would we get back to that?
Well, we've got a substitute, of course, with our mobile phones and our televisions.
Right.
Are not healthy in a spiritual sense or a physical sense. But how do we get back? Is there no turning the clock back?
I don't see it. I mean, think about this. In my house, we had the one television, and at the time there were like 5 channels, maybe 6 channels, and there was and there was no remote control. I was the remote control. Davey, put on channel 3. Davey, put on channel 7. I was the remote control. So the thing is that how would you get back? How would you get back to those days? My mother, to call me in, would either yell out the window or go to the gate in the front of our house and call up the block. Today, it's by phone. Everything is instant. It's a whole different society.
They tell me in Iceland it's the same. They can let the kids play out, usually in the snow. But now America wants to take over Iceland. That's not a good idea, is it?
Well, let me ask you a question. What is Denmark's claim to Iceland? That they had the tea company shipped there one day?
Denmark, yes.
Yeah, so their claim is that they had that they were part of the tea company, right?
It's tenuous, put it that way.
Yeah, so that's why Trump makes fun of them. Yeah, well, we had some ships there too.
Yes. Well, it's moved on. It's not moved on for the better. Most of us will say that. And the other thing, finally, before we go, I've seen a report about what you earned in the 50s and 60s. The big Cadillacs, the big Chryslers, the vacations were there. Mum stayed at home in those days and was actually no worse off than rushing around now, 2 earners working all the hours, all the days of the week. Yeah, we've gone backwards.
Yeah, but it's different. Everything has flipped. As a matter of fact, George Magazine did a feature article on this very topic, I think a year or so ago, about how the affordability thing has flipped. In other words, if you go back to the 60s and 70s, 1960s and 70s, you'll find that housing, buying a home was affordable. Buying a cars weren't $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. You could buy a brand new, reasonable car for $1,000, $1,200, brand new. So, of course, the salaries were commensurate, right? People weren't making, if somebody was making $125 or $200 a week, that was That was good money. With $200 a week, you fed your family, you had a house, you had a car, you could have a family of 2 or 3 kids and your wife, and so your wife didn't have to work. And that was with 200, $250 a week. Today, forget about it. $250 is lunch at McDonald's.
And the medical situation back then compared with
Oh
now?
my goodness gracious, the doctor, you give him $5, $10, that was it. It was a whole different time. And people think that it was because the dollar lost value. No, that's not what happened. Everything is the same, except everything went up and out. And it's just, for example, back then, if you wanted like color television, it was astronomical. Color TV, $750. Who in the world would buy that, right? Today, you get a 50-inch 4K television, $50. You can't buy a house though, but you can get that wide big screen TV. So it's like everything flipped. The important things are now out of reach, and the silly things are easy to get.
Okay, this sounds like a sermon coming on. So we better get along quickly before that happens.
Yeah,
it's a point to be taken notice of. And we oldies can look back and say, well, yeah, it was different, but some things are better now. Cheer up.
That's right. That's right. So that's what makes it very frustrating for the youth, is because they don't understand how it was. And when we talk to young people, we have to recognize that they're growing up in a completely different landscape than we did.
Yeah, with a lot more temptation. There's a good old-fashioned word.
Yeah.
There's a real movement, I know, both sides of the Atlantic to get back to basics. Maybe we will. Things might not change, but things might change. There's one word that keeps springing to mind, Dave. That's hope. And this Dear old book says hope is so important. It's all right having lots of love, but hope is very key to what's going to happen. So
Amen.
Again, cheer up, everybody.
Amen. Amen to that, Rodney. Very good.
We shall see you next week.
Yes, amen to that too.
Hopefully.